I was excited to do this, but I was bummed about not being able to do Injustice because A, shorter, B,
Yes.
it's the animation on Mortal Kombat, and C, like that's the new thing that's out. So
And is that going to be a continuation? Is that with the end credit or the teaser, of this one? Is this all the same universe? Or?
I mean, I don't know because it's different animation. So no, Injustice is like an Elseworld, the Earth. I actually don't know what Earth it takes place on. So no, that's an easy way.
Yeah, they all leave. They all come from some planet where Superman's evil, right? So some of the YouTubers were saying that, like, you're right. I'm not sure if the animation is the same. So maybe that's like the
It's
tell.
definitely not.
Yeah, that's the end of the conversation there. But they were saying that, like, maybe with the end credit scene coming in, that's where they're coming from, and that's going to be where that jumps off to.
It could that could definitely happen. I mean, there's no look at some point if the animated people are smart, which they've proven time and time again that they are head and shoulders above the live action, they'll turn this eventually into Dark Knight's Metal or Dark Knight's Death Metal, which Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo did, and they can just take off with that, and then you pull from a bunch of different worlds. Mainly, you do that with Batman.
Those are your BFFs, right?
Yes, yeah.
Were they both on TLDR this week?
Yes, they were. It went very well. Yes, Greg was a hoot. That was the first time we've had him on, so that was something because like he's like he did Spawn forever too, and I love Spawn. So it was wild.
Oh man, you got to be. You're riding high. You're on cloud 9 right now.
Just talking about it right now, still, yeah. I'm like gonna. If you hear a thud in the table, it's not my knee.
It's the third leg. I like it. Yeah.
I'm sitting on like 3 books right now, so it's not. I would call it a leg. I'd say a small dick fall.
How modest.
Small dick fall.
You're in a on cloud 9. I'm in a cloud of fart smoke right now. My farts stink. Like, I usually never have smelly farts, but we're redoing our kitchen. So we don't have a fridge or anything at the moment.
Okay.
So we have a fridge, but we have nothing else at the moment. So all we have are like lean cuisines and like stuff that we can microwave, and it's all processed like preservative filled shit on top of all the Halloween candy that we have. But that's a whole difference. So I'm just eating all this like high salt, high preservative type stuff, and it's just like eating me up. I don't know how people eat that stuff and think they're like eating healthy.
I don't pretend to understand. Like I like people, the excuses people make for food and stuff like that. It's
like, I guess maybe from a portion standpoint, but again, all the salt, all the soy, like the soybean oil and everything, like that stuff's awful for you, especially men.
Yep. Yeah, you're right about that. I'm almost done tweeting this stuff out. Oh shit. Okay, there we go. No, fucking come on, dude. But yeah, dude, oh my bad.
The hair always kind of just shoots right out at the top there,
I hate that feeling though when you start ripping them and they smell, because like usually you can get you can't get like when you have a lady around all the time, you want to be able to sneak one by, no one smells anything, no one notices, whatever. But then when it starts smelling a ton, then it's like, what do I do?
And those are the worst, because then then it's known that you tried to do something sneaky and try to sneak something by there, so I'm the exact opposite. I'm not a silent but deadly guy. I'm a loud and harmless guy, right? They're loud. You can hear them from a mile away. That sounds like you're ripping up like an old lawnmower engine, That's kind of what it sounds like. Wow. Especially when I'm in my chair, like the chair has like a mesh bottom, so it kind of enhances the sound a little bit, but there's no smell, so it's kind of fun. We all like the wife jokes about it, so she's an enjoyer of the fart. She says she's not, but she is.
So the mesh enhances it.
It enhances the sound, but not the smell.
Okay. Because
there's some reverberation going on. I
see. My dad told me, you should my chair's wood. There's nothing in between, me and other than my jeans, really, between me and the wood. Sure. And we're talking about the chairs again here, not that kind of wood. Either way, with that's where I find it gets some serious reverberation. So you always said don't get wood chairs, but here I am.
Of course, yeah. It's tough. It's tough either way. But the smell, because that's a level of deceit. You were trying to sneak it by someone. Yep. No one notices, and then the smell just lingers. It's tough.
Yep. There's no walking. Like you're like an element of trust is like being lost when they start to smell it.
But once it sounds like, are you at that step with Lauren? Are you able to fart in front of one another?
I've done that's happened, but like I don't want to do it. Like I don't
Okay,
like.
yeah,
You know,
you still respect one another, but if
I
it
don't.
happens, it happens.
Yeah. If it happens, it happens. Like, sometimes it's gonna slip out. You know, sometimes it's gonna make a little more noise, and it's just move on. It
Yeah.
happens. Yeah, but
The respect level is gone for both parts. I'm
oh,
actively trying to Dutch oven Jules on a nightly basis.
I think that could be a deal breaker. I don't know if I'm at that. I'm definitely not at that point yet.
No, it's fun. It's all good fun. Yeah, that's what happens when you get married. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Brag, married.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You Dutch oven more than you do it,
Oh my god.
No, that's a joke. That's all a joke there. I'm just kidding.
Sure.
We're not recording, are we? No.
No, we're not live yet, but I'm ready to
not.
go whenever you are.
All right, let's do it here. Yeah. me. Okay. Get this ready here. 3, 2, 1. Nick, Change My Mind podcast. It's recorded on a Monday. It's uploaded on Tuesday. It's tweeted on Wednesday. It's listened to on Thursday. Forgotten by Friday. Planning for a new episode by Saturday, and then I'm just dreading it by Sunday. I am, of course, Wesley Sykes. To the other side of the ether is the Falcone to my Maroney, Mr. Nicholas J. Esquire, crime boss for hire.
Oh, crime boss for hire. Yep, that makes sense. Absolutely. I got to tell you, that is one of my favorite intros that you've done so far in this show. You're on a heater. I feel like it's the last 3 to last 5. I can't remember that. I've absolutely loved. And you could recycle them, and I'd be totally fine.
Yeah, we could keep this one too. This has a bit of evergreen standing, a bit of a pine tree-esque.
You may have said that the last 2 episodes and you haven't done it, but you're on a roll.
I can go back to them though. I keep an archive, Google Docs. Google Drive is a very powerful thing for one another here.
This is true.
But what I will say, Solomon Grundy, I didn't know, Wyclef Jean, if I were president, like that's what that whole thing is based off. And, I know it goes back to a more Canterbury-esque like poem, but still very cool thing. If I was president, I'd be assassinated on Monday or whatever.
Yeah, that shit's awesome. And I also want to say that as much as Falcone is a compliment, you should be the Falcone to my Maroney because you're the elder statesman here.
Oh yeah, that's true. But
I gotta respect.
It was the beta alpha move,
I see. Okay, of course. Yeah, so you're playing chess, and I'm just playing checkers over here.
You're falling right into it perfectly.
Son of a gun.
This week, if you haven't already guessed, we'll be conducting an exit survey of Batman: The Long Halloween Part 1 and 2. This is cashing in on Nick's birthday episode of choice. One week later, of course. Nick, a week into being 30, you still feel like you look as good as you did at 29? Or
well, like I said last time, looking in the mirror the day before 29, it's like, but in my 30s now, I'm like, and now it's in my 30s, so it's like, okay, like, yeah, I can take this. This looks pretty good for in your 30s, whether I'm 30 or 39, whatever, that's a whole nother thing. But.
Nick, that is such a top-notch joke. I hope you use that more often than just the 2 times on this podcast, because it really should. It should get some length on it. You let it walk a little bit. I will say I did workshop it on Lauren first, and that's how I knew it was kind of funny because she laughed, and I'd always make her laugh, so. Oh, you don't always make her laugh? Is that what you're saying?
Well, I'm not known as being the funniest person in the world. I think we all know.
No, I think you're very funny. I think it's the responsibility of the girl in the relationship to play the straight man.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like kind of like keep you in check. Like, no, you're an idiot.
Which is I've witnessed with Julia trying to do that, firsthand, and I feel like it's very difficult for her to do it because there are times.
No, she's perfect. There's plenty of opportunities for her to do that, and she is more than willing to take that road.
I've seen it where when I've been around, like I see her like she'll go and criticize you, but she's like fighting back a smile as she's saying it because it's like she knows it's funny, but she doesn't want to admit it.
Well, that's the other beautiful thing about marriage, as you learn too, is that you insult each other with a smile. Then it's it goes a much longer way,
Yeah, there you go.
That's a key to a happy marriage. Yeah,
that's love.
Okay, but enough about a marriage here. We're going to get off the couch here a little bit. The intro question: Halloween. Of course, it's in the title of the movie that we're reviewing here, but it's also right around the corner. 2-part question, Nick. What are you being for Halloween? / what is your favorite fun-sized candy that you normally wouldn't eat if it was regular sized?
So to go with the latter question first, I go Crunch. because I
Sure.
I love
Yep.
Bunch of Crunch, and I get that, that's my favorite movie candy, but that's not the same thing. I never get Crunch bars. It doesn't do it for me. It's just too much for a bar, too wide and everything. As for what I'm going to be for Halloween, Wes,
And I don't think you can break. I don't think they're like perforated, right? I don't think you can. I
nope,
think it's just one bar. It's
that
not
is
like the
that is
Hershey's
correct.
chocolate, right?
You are absolutely correct with that one. As for what I'm dressing as this Halloween, I think there's a chance that I'm going to be Thing 2. But I haven't dressed up for Halloween in a long time. But as a man who wears graphic like T-shirts all the time, I feel like I get a pass. Like that, like, every day's fucking Halloween for me.
That's true. That's a good. So Thing 1, Thing 2 from Dr. Seuss, even though Dr. Seuss is canceled.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about
You're
that.
bringing it
Oh,
back. That's risky. That's risky.
well, maybe I need to talk to somebody because I just kind of was.
Are you guys going out to Boston or are you going to be in Fall River? Because in Boston, that might be an issue. Fall River, you're probably okay.
I don't know yet. We have not planned that far in advance because we got stuff coming up this weekend, which I just remembered. I got to jot that down for what we're doing this week. But what about you? Or what are you dressing up as?
So very excited. I think I might have teased this back in the day when this show came out, but the wife and I, we don't know if it's going to come in time, but we got the WandaVision, his and her matching costume.
No, you didn't tell me that yet.
Yeah, so the original, from the Halloween episode too. So that's kind of more comic book specific.
Nice.
So
yes,
very cool stuff there. So that should be very. So I'm not sure if it's going to come in time again.
Oh, that's awesome.
So supply chains things. All
did she watch the show with you? I can't remember.
Oh yeah. She was just as she watched it like on her own without me and stuff. So.
Now that's ringing a bell. Yep. Okay. Yep.
So if not, I have my my Spider-Man jumpsuit costume that I can throw on in a pinch and maybe be like Peter B. Parker or something like that.
Oh, then you got to call Doc because he's Miles Morales for Halloween. So
I saw that.
The movie and everything. Yeah, says he's got the mask. It's a good mask.
It's a strong mask. Yeah, I like that. But fun size candy. I thought Crunch was a great selection. Baby Ruth bars are mine. I'll never get a Baby Ruth bar, but the fun sized ones, I'll pop those every day.
Okay, so Baby Ruth, and another one for me too is Crackle. Although I don't ever really see a full size Crackle, but I like Crackle. But it's kind of like Crunch. Baby Ruth though, what is that like? Is that along the lines of Snickers?
I think it's the same thing as Snickers. I was just trying to think of what the difference is, but I'm not really sure. Maybe it's the nougat, the nougat different consistency is different. I don't know.
Okay, I'm not sure. Yeah, because I can't remember the last time I tried Baby Ruth. There are some I don't mess with, like Almond Joy. Not a fan. Mounds, which I don't know what the difference is, but
Mounds is the coconut. Almond Joy is the almond in the center.
Okay, yeah, well, definitely no, thank you on coconut. But yes, but Baby Ruth, good choice. Haven't had that in a long ass time though. But
yeah, no, it was nice. I'll pop those like vitamins. It's good stuff. What do we say we get going into trending now, Nick? Of course, we have the DC Fandom experience was this weekend.
Holy shit.
Holy shit is right. First and foremost, we'll get through some of our best and worst and most intriguing of the rest, but I think we would be remiss if we didn't start with the Batman trailer, right?
Holy hell, Wes, this is awesome. Yes, I mean, look, we knew that the first trailer had a lot of promise. The first trailer kicked ass. This, I mean, the vibe of it and everything, it felt like it was a little bit more finished, more refined compared to the first one. Still very gritty and everything, but I mean, all the way up to even the ending, where you get that whole little bit with Penguin and everything, and then you just see Batman walk, and it's like, this is perfect. Love it.
It's amazing, and the color palettes that they use with the reds and the dark blues and the oranges to highlight certain scenes, and it's like, it seems like it's constantly raining. You use the term gritty, which I think is a great way to kind of describe the aesthetic that they're going for, at least from the trailers of Gotham City. But the constant rain, it feels like they're almost pulling from a David Fincher style with Seven. We did Seven, that's always kind of raining. The depiction of the Riddler is much like the Zodiac Killer. David Fincher did the Zodiac movie, so the thing wearing the mask with the glasses over. So there's a lot of similarities there. Yeah, David Fincher, obviously great actor, can do suspense thriller, kind of horror-esque very well, while also delivering like a top-notch story. You're not really sacrificing one or the other there. So I think if you're gonna, borrow or kind of mold your movie after anyone, I think David Fincher is probably a good person to kind of do that.
Yeah.
But you get, again, I'm just blown away by Paul Dano, the Riddler. Batman obviously is going to get his flowers in this, rightfully so. But I'm very excited for what he's going to bring to this. Again, that type of like Kevin Spacey and Seven type of eerie killer type of vibe. I'm here for it.
For those who are toy boys like Goo and myself, Todd McFarlane already has a Pattinson Batman, Zoe Kravitz Catwoman, and then Paul Dano.
Kravitz, oh my god.
Paul Dano's Riddler action figures. Some of those are already out. I'm sure there's going to be more coming up. As we get closer to the movie. But Wes, right now, like coming out of this, my only concern at all is like our expectations. I think everybody's expectations across the board are sky high for this movie after we all thought like Robert Pattinson's going to be the new Bruce Wayne, and they've completely flipped the script. Can you envision a world where they wind up fucking this up? Because I can't see that coming. Right.
No, I don't either. And I think that's fair to say, kind of zagging while everyone else is zigging. And it's like, all right, well, everyone is so on board with this movie. Like, what have we actually seen other than like a few clips from different angles, right? Like, so I think it's fair to kind of question that. But, when The Dark Knight came out, or at least when it was announced and you were starting to get the trailer drops for it, like everyone was pumped for that. I wasn't a superhero fan, or not nearly to the degree that I am now. At that point, I just knew that, hey, that looks like a sick summer movie. Like, I'm here for it. And I never once thought that wouldn't live up to it. Again, I thought it's kind of following maybe, again, to use this like phrase, a similar mold of that movie. I think that the hype is there. The grittiness is there. I think there's going to be some similarities with that as well.
Yeah, I'm all in on this. I will say, Joe actually texted me about this, that apparently Pattinson, he's done a ton of research on the character, which is great, which is what we want to see. We saw it with a lot of MCU actors and everything, but he apparently in a recent interview, he brought up Tom King's portrayal of Batman, the way he wrote that character. He's the one that wrote the Batman Catwoman wedding that didn't end up happening. It was a whole fiasco. So I hope lean more into the Snyder Capullo stuff if you're going to lean into anything. But other than that, like, I'm glad you feel that way, because that's my only thing. It's like, can it let us down? But if you don't envision that right now, like where you're usually trying to find it, you're doing research, like, and everything, I feel a little more comfortable hearing that.
The red flag that did pop up, and this was mentioned throughout, was the voice choice, right? So because we didn't hear him in the first time, really, right? I think we only heard him in the voiceover, kind of doing the voiceover work, like I'm Vengeance. I think that was about it. But we get a little bit more of him talking as Batman, and that's kind of tough. I hope that's a like one moment, singular moment type of thing, and not like a whole movie type of choice.
That was the one moment where he's like, "What did you do?" Right, when he said that,
when he's talking behind the glass, who we think is the Riddler at that point, right?
Yes, yeah. I'll tell you what, it's if they're smart, which DC when it comes to live action stuff, sometimes I kind of question that. I would say, like, if you put out the absolute worst of it, with a lot of other good stuff, A, it softens the blow, and B, it's like now we kind of have seen the worst. So maybe it'll be a little easier to accept some of the other stuff that's like not quite as good when it comes to his voice stuff. But I'm not overly worried about it. I didn't get as bothered with the Bale stuff as most people did, in fairness.
Yeah, I think it got worse as it went on, right? I think it kind of became a little bit more of a caricature of itself. We have the Batman, of course, is going to be coming out right around the corner. It's coming right up here on March 4th, 2022, with a runtime of roughly 3 hours. And
I'm
again,
fine with
that might bother me, but I'm all fine with this stuff here.
Yeah, I don't care now. Like at this stage, totally cool with it. Just bring it on. It's Batman, and it's you're taking a new step with this character and everything like that. And this should be big for the DC extended universe and everything. So let's go. All
right. So let's now move on to the best, worst, and most intriguing of the rest here, Nick. What was the best of the rest for you that we got from DC Fandom?
So there's a lot of other good stuff, and there was quite a few things that we had heard about previously or seen, at last Fandom and everything, or I should say the first Fandom, that the Gotham Knights trailer, which I'm excited about. But the best new thing for me was hearing that we're going to get the Constantine animated movie, and what it's going to be titled, Constantine House of Mystery. He is a top 5 comic book character for me, period. He might even be top 3. I've had days where I'm like, is he my actual favorite? As much as I love Red Hood and I love Spawn, but I want all the Constantine that I can get. I love what they've done with him in the animated universe, where they put him at the center of Justice League Dark, of course, and then Justice League Dark Apocalypse War, where you have all these other characters, but Constantine is at the center. And of course, I love the City of Demons movie as much as it's a little bit different from the comic itself. So this the House of Mystery is, you see it in the comics. It's the base of operations preparations in the Justice League Dark movie. So if this is like going to be an origin story for it and everything, or just messing around with it, whatever, like I'm totally here for it, and I couldn't be more excited for it.
I like it, and I'm on board with that. I'm turning the page on the animated movie slowly but surely here, so I'll get around to it. And John Constantine and Justice League Dark was a big part of that, so
right.
Maybe I'll give that a shot here. I think for me though, the Peacemaker trailer, John Cena is back in a big way, in ways that I think Dwayne The Rock Johnson, could never be. Right, he can never really play that villain role, and two, hit that comedy note as well as John Cena has. And John Cena is willing to do both of those. This Peacemaker trailer is set to release on HBO Max on January 13th. So again, also right around the corner here. And what I loved about it, touching on the humor and kind of playing on that aspect, but the Freddie Stroma, who's playing Vigilante, who seems like this, who's the guy who never talks in The Boys?
The guy who never talks in The Boys.
Yeah,
you mean the girl?
Is it a girl? I don't know. Who's always like he's always in the black. He's in all black.
Black Noir. I'm sorry. Yes.
Yeah.
Because there's also the female, the Asian woman who doesn't talk either, but that's in the comic more so. Sorry, Black Noir is what you're talking about.
All right, sorry. Great. Thank you. Back on track here. Yeah, I kind of get that vibe where you don't really know what's going on. And, when you hear him kind of open up his voice, he sounds kind of slightly effeminate. So it's kind of jarring with what you're expecting there. And I think that just is going to play really well with each other. So I'm very excited to see how that's going to turn out. And again, Peacemaker was one of the high notes of Suicide Squad.
Absolutely. And I think you're spot on with, like, when you say that this is something The Rock couldn't do, and I partially understand what you're going for, and we'll talk about that in a second. But I never, like, with The Rock, he's not someone that you think is funny ever. No one's going to go and say The Rock's funny. People like The Rock, sure. But John Cena, not somebody I expected to be funny. I didn't watch, was it Blocked or whatever it was, or Cock Blocked, whatever.
Blockers, yeah.
Blockers,
that's a funny movie, yeah.
I didn't see it because I saw it. I'm like, John Cena, like, he just strikes me as a hardo. But now I'm seeing this, and I'm thinking maybe I should have gone and seen Blockers, because this guy seems like he's very self-deprecating. I thought he'd be somebody who takes himself too seriously, wants to be this extreme badass, and he's going to be a hardo with it. But he's like got this. With this character, he's got a really good mix. And, I don't know what the plans for the show is, like, if they're going to have a season 2, if they're going to kill him after one season or whatever. But I'll tell you what, I'd ride this character for as long as you can if I'm John Cena.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to pay it as well, too. Worst, we mentioned The Rock here. The Black Adam featurette one way too long.
It was very long
to get to anything that was worth watching, right? And I think when it finally got to, what was the backstory, I think we already got a little bit of that action or that film sequences. And it was cool, I guess. But again, this is like Black Adam is kind of a villain. So this seems like this is his first foray into playing a real villain. But, for a long time, that was written into his contract that he was not allowed to be the bad guy. And that's where like the Fast and the Furious stuff kind of came to a head, because I think also Vin Diesel has into his contract, like they are both never supposed to lose a fight. And that's where that, like,
oh my God, that's
back
a
and
thing.
forth beef was.
My God, I didn't know that's where it came. That is so.
I think that's where part of it kind of stemmed from. But
the fact that that's part of it is absolutely pathetic, Wes. But with this, like, this is a movie that's been rumored and supposed to have. We've known for a while that it was going to happen, but it was rumored for even longer. And it's just been like forever, and then starting to think at points like, is it ever really going to happen? Just because, it's DC and stuff falls through, things get all messed up and whatever. It's not, the MCU. But I wanted to see, like, what's going to happen. I don't care about Rock's whole, like, thing beforehand. Although I will say, when he said, like, I was born to play Black Adam, I was like, there's not many people that can get away with that. And I'm sure there are plenty of people that was like, yeah, that's a hardo move. But
everybody's gonna say, they just pay him to say that. Like, he was paid to be born to say, what I mean?
Yes, but I mean, like, there are some people who's like, okay, get out of my face, I don't want to hear that. But it's like The Rock, and I'm kind of like, okay, whatever. Like, it's The Rock, it's fine. I'm willing to let it slide with him more than I am pretty much everybody else. But anyway,
he has built up credibility, of course.
Exactly, yeah. But with the bit that we saw, like, I liked it. I'm like, okay, like, this looks cool. Like, I'm intrigued. Like, I didn't know what to expect necessarily. This is not a character I've read a ton of over the years. Shazam is, as much as I like the movie, haven't read a lot of Shazam either. So maybe I'll do some homework before the show, or the movie. But for me, the worst, I guess, if anything, The Rock's little spiel. Okay, I can understand that, but just the idea that Aquaman might end up being a more mature sequel. I don't necessarily want that. Like, just let's keep dicking around with this. Like, I don't know what that entirely means, but
keep the campy vibe and kind of understand that like Aquaman's kind of a dorky character to begin with. So the more you take him serious, the more you're gonna like turn people off from it. Exactly. And like again, you see Black Manta's costume and looks awesome, but very comic book accurate. But also very comic book accurate. It looks kind of dumb at the same time,
Yeah, I don't.
It's a gift and a curse, double-edged sword there.
Yeah, absolutely. You have to find the right middle ground when it comes to adapting those things. It's just because like some of the stuff is just so far out there, it's ridiculous. Like, I mean, like Wolverine, right? Like, we'd all love to see him wear his old outfit, but it's like it really doesn't make sense. Like, you can't like Hugh Jackman, he's awesome and everything. You get really close to it with his hair if you want, but it's just not gonna work wearing that old
the yellow spandex with the blue. Actually, like our kind of design layout is kind of similar. The blue is a little too green, but you know what I mean? We're almost there. You
could wear, now if Cyclops wanted to wear his shit, that one I would be okay with, where you got a little bit of the hair showing at the top and everything. That I'd be fine with. But
yeah, I remember when we did our X-Men the Animated Series interview with the Lou Waltz. Yeah, excuse me. I remember that was one of my favorite things there about the 90s depiction of Cyclops that made him such a badass with this like the crossover strap belt that he had. Like, I don't know,
his best look, period. It's not even close. And that's Jim Lee that did that and everything. And I absolutely love it. And that's one thing about animation too, Wes, that like I really appreciate. Like those outfits. If someone said like, oh, we're gonna make a new X-Men thing and we're gonna use those same designs, you can do that with animation. Like no one's gonna care quite as much with that stuff. Like, look at Invincible, right? There weren't a lot of stupid shit in that show. But anyways, what else are you most intrigued about?
Yeah, so this would be kind of like, maybe not the best, not the worst, but something I want to keep my eye on. I want to know a little bit more about here. And this was something, again, I didn't see this on anything. I just saw a couple things tweeted out about it. This is a Batman Caped Crusader animated series. So it's going to be a somewhat continuation, similar animation of the Batman the animated series that we all grew up on what is it, Fox? I think it was,
Fox Kids,
Fox Kids there, right? So this is going to be an HBO Max show led by J.J. Abrams and Matt Reeves. That's what's giving me the confidence in there. Kind of, again, picking up off of the animated series kind of animation there. And this is described by Abrams as, quote, an incredibly complex psychological story about someone in a way who needs to be redeemed, which is kind of what his first season is about.
Okay.
So that sounds a little weird. I'm not sure if I copied that wrong.
Well, the wording sounds a little odd, but I think I kind of get the point. And what I love,
picking it up.
Yeah, exactly. And at the end of it all, Wes, like what I'm loving with the animation stuff is you can tell there are stories that you can tell with the animation that you can't necessarily tell as effectively with live action. And I want to see that. Like, that's why I like comics more than anything right now, because it's just like you can do a lot of weird shit there. With animation, you can also do a lot of weird shit. So I'm totally on board with this. In any animation that DC has done a great job with the animation. I mean, you like some of the stuff that you've watched. I mean, there's Under the Red Hood. We're talking about one today. We'll get to that later. Superman Red Sun. You've watched that one too, right?
Yeah. I maybe fell asleep through it, but late night sort of thing. But I made the effort to put it on, which I think is a step in the right direction.
The step in the right direction, and I love that one. I think that one's really good. But late night, I totally understand. I fall asleep during good stuff too. As for speaking of good stuff,
what I'm new Tempur-Pedic bed. It's like a thing. I just melt like butter in that thing.
There's nothing you can do. That I mean, it's more on the bed than anything
technology,
else.
Nick. I have NASA technology in my bedroom as we speak, and I'm not talking about the sex toys.
Oh well, okay. Well, that's that's great for you on both ends, I guess.
Yeah, the people at home are getting a little peek inside the bedroom of the Sykes bedroom tonight. Never mind. Anyways, so as for what I'm intrigued by, aside from Wes's sex life, right.
The new Gotham Knights trailer was awesome. We're seeing a little bit more gameplay. We're seeing some in between stuff. The story and everything. It's coming out next year. This is what I'm going to get PS5 for. Everybody's still waiting on it. I know Joe was able to pick one up, but a lot of people, it's been tough to find. I haven't even bothered because I don't need this until I get Gotham Knights. I used to rip video games like crazy, West. I don't do it now because just life and everything like that. Yeah. And you just don't want to. I did test out the new Mortal Kombat a little while back. I actually rented it, but this is a game that I am going to get. I am going to want to play with a decent level of frequency. Other guys in the DSG are getting this as well. And I've never owned a PlayStation. I am getting a PlayStation for this game.
Wow.
So I am amped beyond all reason for this. So find out that for sure coming next year was great. We got to see, the silhouette of Michael Keaton in the Flash trailer. So that was pretty awesome. Yep.
But I think, and people are getting hung up on that, but I'm getting, there's multiple Flashes there. There's multiple Ezra Millers, right? One in a Batman costume. He's in the background there,
the emblem, right? Yeah.
Yeah, that's spray painted over there and what looks like Supergirl.
I may have missed a couple of the other ones.
I think there was Supergirl.
Oh, yes. Yeah. But she was in a Flash suit, wasn't she?
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure. So I'm
whatever.
There's a lot of moving parts up in the air. So I'm intrigued by that. But everyone's going up, about the Keaton and stuff. But we already kind of knew that already. But cool. I got a quote here from Ezra Miller here that he teased at DC Fandom. This is from @BingeWatchThis_. So I think that's like Daniel Richtman and a couple other people. I think they quote our guy
Casey
Walsh there a couple of times. So Ezra Miller at DC Fandom, that there may not be any villains in The Flash. Quote, in one way, I'd say there's a few villains. And then in another way, I'd say that there aren't any villains in a way that might be part of the exploration and message of the movie. Like, what is he saying? Okay, on here, how much pot is he smoking?
I don't know. I feel like I got to start smoking it to understand that shit. I have no idea what you just said.
In one way, it's something, but in another sense, in a not, because in one way, it's like, what are you talking about, man?
What
He's
is
showing up in a choker? Like, I don't know. It's like, I'm not sure if that was in poor taste, given what he's like been wrapped up in.
I'd tell you what, at the end of it all, I'm excited to see Keaton return as Batman. As much as I've had my issues about him, I think it's like, I don't watch, superhero movies, whatever. I don't care about comic book movies, whatever. I'm still excited to see this. This is really cool just to see what direction are they going to take this in. So give me it. We got to see a little bit of it. So the DC Fandom, it was good last year. I would say this year, it might have been close to great last year because some of the video games were announced. This year, though, for sure was great. They've been awesome with this.
Well, and it's amazing what happens when you have a tentpole anchor pillar of a franchise like Batman in there to kind of really kind of bring everything around. Because other than that, The Flash was interesting, but everything else, if there was not the Batman trailer there, that would have been like not a whole lot for me.
Yeah, I would say, I would have said at the end of it all, it was good. I wouldn't have said, because there's also the Catwoman stuff, and there were a couple other things. I think we saw more of the Suicide Squad video game, which I'm not as much interested in. But it would have been, it's a good one. But Batman puts it on that great level, and you say like amazing what it does for you in your little bubble. But as you found out, there's a little bit of a ripple effect that we saw too. It seems like
it's this is today breaking news as of today, the afternoon that we're recording this. I would say Marvel is apparently running from the Batman hype. This is coming from Deadline, probably multiple places at this point. But Doctor Strange 2 pushed back from March 25th to May 6th, and this is the ripple effect that you're talking about, Nick. Because that was the slot of Thor 4, which gets pushed back to the July 8th, which was the slot for Black Panther 2, which goes back to November 11th, which was the slot for the Marvels, which goes back to February 17th, 2023, which was the slot for Ant-Man 3, which gets pushed back to the July 28th to set up and now unannounced Marvel movie.
I hate that shit. Like, the people who love Batman, as much as DC has caught a lot of shit over the years and everything, people are always going to give Batman a chance. Like, you really gotta fuck it up for people not to want to see a Batman movie. It's on the same level as the MCU. That's why people are like, oh, they want to see Batman go to Marvel. Like, what would happen if DC didn't have Batman? They'd be fucked. But like, people are going to go see both. It's not going to matter.
Well, and I was confused by this initially, and I think it was a clickbaity headline when I first put it in there because that was along the same lines, and I'm like, I'm thinking about it because the Batman doesn't come out, comes out March 4th, and that gives a solid 2-3 weeks of the March 25th, release date for Doctor Strange 2. So I was like, that doesn't really make sense. Kind of going off the same lines of what you were saying. Both movies can coexist, especially as one is dropping off steam and the other is just kind of starting. But then our guy Casey Walsh doing a little sleuthing, a little digging, little bit of reporting there. Perhaps a Big J journalist.
He does some digging. Yeah,
he sure does. Yeah, but he was saying that just to give these directors and these properties proper time to actually finish everything and not feel rushed putting these out. And I guess, like, listen, if they're going to come out and get flack for something, which I think we've seen with the DC, or not the DC, I'm sorry, the Disney Plus MCU shows, that some of the things were out of order, kind of little bit of rush, right? Had to cut an episode from Marvel's What If for certain things. There was Doctor Strange's cameo was cut out of WandaVision for certain reasons. The entire plot of Falcon and the Winter Soldier was adjusted because of the pandemic and getting that pushed back and whatnot. So, I wonder if they just want to give people time to actually get their big properties ready for the next big push in 2020.
That's fair.
Maybe that's excuse making.
That's fair. I mean, maybe a little bit, but it's fair and it does make sense. I will say I would. If the Eternals was right after or right before Doctor Strange, then it would make a little bit more sense to me. But we're getting Spider-Man in between too, so I don't. Your explanation is the only thing that makes sense to me because no disrespect to Batman, I understand being afraid of Batman because it's pretty much like Batman and Spider-Man. Like when you're talking about the top two, you're talking about DC and Marvel, those are the top two guns, but. The MCU has just raised itself to a whole nother level, and Doctor Strange this movie is supposed to be so fucking important that it wouldn't matter. So the only thing that makes sense, Wes, as much as it does feel a little bit like excuse making, is your explanation for it, just to make sure you get all your ducks in a row.
Yeah, and it kind of sucks, right? Because if we're, that's not pushing off anything with Spider-Man No Way Home, so that's still getting the December release date, and you're thinking, all right, great, I only have to wait 3 months to kind of get that continuation of that mini threequel with WandaVision, Spider-Man, and Doctor Strange 2, right? But now you have to wait till May for that, and that's kind of a bummer. So it's a little bit of a bummer, but hopefully it's all for the better. One movie that was not altered from its date is Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, which is going to be sandwiched right between that February 17th, July 28th release date. So I think it's a May 6th, that first week in May 2023. But we missed this news from last week here. Will Poulter, of course, from Will the Millers, We're the Millers, Maze Runner, Chronicles of Narnia. He was cast as Adam Warlock. Apparently, this is old news that just got released, shared with.
I don't know how this wasn't on our radar at all. And especially
everyone was so wrapped up with Zac Efron,
I didn't even see the Zac Efron stuff. So okay,
he was on all the mock-ups and the Boss Logic stuff and
I gotcha. Okay, so that's fair. I mean, I don't know much about this guy other than that he's Kenny, and then what was it he had the thing on his bingo or whatever it was when he passed out, right? I don't even remember what he's in from Chronicles of Narnia. I don't remember his role.
I think he might be the younger brother.
Oh, wait a minute. Now it's ringing a bell. So he's in it. And then I know you didn't like Jigsaw, Billy Barnes from the Punisher movie. So,
right, yeah.
But he's also in the second Chronicles of Narnia movie, which I didn't see, but I remember the trailer.
Caspian, yeah.
Yeah, that's him. Yeah, that was him.
Prince Caspian?
Yep. Yeah, which really threw me off.
Son of a bitch. No wonder why I didn't like him. Yeah.
But
I like this Will Poulter move. He's a little bit on the younger side. And apparently, I don't know, again, I think this is supposed to be taking place in present time in the MCU. So at the current, it's not going to be a flashback or fitting in to kind of fill in the gaps of another timeline. You know how the MCU kind of does that sometimes.
Right. Yeah. That's
Black Widow, for example. But yeah, so I think it's going to be kind of in that moment there. So, it'll be interesting to see what else is going on around that time.
So my initial impression, I guess, then other than I don't, I know him from Where the Millers and that's really it. Is okay. This is the guy who we know, but he's not this crazy kick-ass actor who we've seen before, and that's kind of what Marvel's done really well. They take someone who maybe needs to be on the rebound, or maybe it's somebody who just hasn't really gotten that big break, and they've done stuff, and he doesn't really have that. He or she doesn't have that defining role. I know there's some exceptions, Samuel L. Jackson, Scarlett Johansson, but I like it when they go and bring someone in who is we don't really. You can kind of let this person just be Adam Warlock instead of being Will Poulter.
It's interesting because you bring up Nick Fury and Natasha and Scarlett Johansson and stuff. Those big name actors are kind of the side characters, right? The villains or the co-stars of the film, but they usually like to take unknown actors or kind of on the cusp actors for their big roles and have them kind of blossom in the big roles, a la Chris Hemsworth, Chris Evans to a slighter degree, but many more to that.
Yeah, definitely, absolutely. So that whenever they do that, I feel I don't feel like apprehensive when we hear bigger names linked to somebody, but I feel very comfortable when they're this is their wheelhouse. I love it when they do that.
Yeah, I'm here for it too. That's a big news segment, a lot of news to get to here, but the news isn't over yet. We still got 1 minute.
Yes. So the comic book minute real quick before we get to our main topic for today. So for TLDR, as Wes mentioned in the pre-show show, for those who are listening to us, you don't know, but we talked to Greg Capullo and Scott Snyder on TLDR last week. This week, we talked to Rodney Barnes. That audio is already in the can, so that you guys will be able to hear that on Wednesday at midnight. Make sure you guys already subscribe to TLDR like you are to change my mind. We're talking about Nita Hawes' Nightmare blog, which drops this week from Image Comics. It's part of the Philadelphia universe, but it's kind of like adjacent. It's definitely like you'll find out really quickly how it's related. I love this. I've already gotten a look at the first 3 issues. The first one drops this week. I think I like it more than Philadelphia, and Philadelphia was an Eisner nominated series, and it's still been kicking ass. Also out this week, Gunslinger Spawn. You all know I'm a sucker for Spawn, and I've been dying to see more of this character, so can't wait for more. Image, all the love that Marvel and DC get on the big screen, Image is going to continue to blossom in different areas, but in the comics right now, Image is the best. Like if I could only read one title right now, as much as I love AWA and I really like DC, Image would be the only one that I would pick right now. They just nonstop fire. And then just a programming note too, we're going to have a change to our weekly schedule soon for TLDR. So be on alert for that at the end of this week's episode. So that'll be TLDR 51. We're just, Doc's, getting busy with work again and everything. So really happy for him. So we're going to make some adjustments. So we'll let you guys know what the plan is moving forward.
The backcrackers getting back to cracking backs, baby.
Absolutely. Gotta love that.
Try saying that 5 times fast.
I will not, because I'm going to
try it right now.
Backcrackers back to cracking backs. Backcrackers back to cracking backs. Backcrackers back to cracking backs. Backcrackers back. Dang it! I got 3.
I shouldn't have started laughing. I think I broke your concentration. We'll give it to you nonetheless. What does the Russian score say? 8.9 from the Russian judge.
Whole wedding is horseshit.
It's tough. Yeah, she's a tough critic. But the main topic here, I don't think will be as tough as the Russian judge on your alliteration mouth challenge there. I don't know what that's even called.
I don't know.
But nonetheless, I'm scrambling for time here. The main topic, nonetheless, is Batman: The Long Halloween Part 1 and Part 2. We're doing an exit survey, not like with the people one that I kind of teased out last week's episode. I think we're going to save that for the big theatrical releases, big TV shows, that sort of thing, to kind of drum up the most hype as possible for it.
Keep this more grounded like the movie itself is.
Yeah, I like that. Grounded and gritty. I like a couple of G words here. The synopsis is Batman is investigating a murder spree that takes place on the holidays. The killer, known as Holiday, continues to stalk the Falcone crime family while a new class of costume criminal rises in Gotham City. Batman suspects that a former ally might be the serial killer.
Ooh, cast and crew. This is directed by Chris Palmer, written by Jeff Loeb, Tim Sale, and Tim Sheridan, starring Jensen Ackles as Batman, Josh Duhamel as Harvey Dent, Naya Rivera as Catwoman, Troy Baker as Joker, Billy Burke as Commissioner Gordon, Dave Dasmalchian as Calendar Man, and Jack Quaid as Alberto Falcone. That one I didn't realize initially when we were watching it.
Yeah, I put that in there. I thought it was a nice little note there. Yeah. No box office score here, but the critics' reception received an average of course, this is an average of the 2 releases here, Part 1 and Part 2, of 7.25 out of 10 on IMDb, and an average of 186.5 split on Rotten Tomatoes. So very well received on both ends.
100 from the critics. Holy shit.
Rarely do you have, 2 sides like that agreeing on anything these days. So that's huge. And a combined average of 4.6 out of 5 on Google reviews, with an 82% of Google users liking this movie.
Okay, nice. So as for our score and tweet length review, I'll kick us off, Wes. I gave this an 89 out of 100. Took one of the best Batman comics ever and improved on it. I was apprehensive about DC's change in animation style from what they've done previously. I really like that a lot. Of course, separate from the Mortal Kombat style they're using for Injustice, I do like that. But now I feel good about that moving forward and the prospect of this universe possibly growing further.
Yeah, I think we're in agreement on this. Of course, we usually have a 5-point slant, 4 or 5-point slant here, but that falls right in line. So I give this an 84 out of 100. It's pretty good. It's pretty long, but again, I get the reasoning for that. It's a great storyline overall. It's not too much of a high-packed action film or action animated film. It's a slow burn. It's a film noir. And I found it kind of fitting that we watched this on the heels of the new Batman trailer, because it feels like they're going to be drawing, from the similar source material, similar timeline.
Yeah.
So there maybe the detective aspect of Batman more so. So I like it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the wife liked it too. She was intrigued.
Oh, she watched it with you. Nice.
She caught the tail end of part 2, and she's like,
nice. Yeah, I'll tell you. Yeah, we're gonna get to the ending, and I did go and reread the comic. I think it was is it 13 issues or is it 12? I can't remember. But I went and reread it. That's available on Hoopla for those who haven't read it yet. There are some slight differences, and either way, it's really good. I think it was number 2 on the dork list that we made with Shime, Doc, and the Dork Boys. If not, it was number 1. It was that and Hush were the top 2. But either way, great story. But I don't want to mess around any further. Let's go to the exit survey questions. Now, I'm the only one that had a nominee for the most rewatchable scene, so I will lead this off.
Maybe real quick though, just say where there wasn't one for me. I just think there wasn't anything that really jumped out. Just like I said, I think it was a slow burn of a story. I think there was it just kind of carried out throughout. There wasn't anything that really jumped out. I was like, oh man, I had to see this. But as someone who read the comics, I want to lean on you a little bit more here, where this is your episode.
Well, thank you very much. This is my birthday episode, but I do agree with your point. This is more about the story and what happens next, keeping you in suspense, keeping you guessing every step of the way. It is very much a whodunit, and you're expecting one thing the whole time. And again, like, having read the comic, you have an idea of what's going to happen, but then they kind of go and change things a little bit. And you do expect that when you're dealing with a different interpretation. They're going to change things here and there. But if we're going to go and pick like the most rewatchable scene, I think the only thing that you can really file under this is Batman's rogues gallery attacking Falcone. You get to see everybody kind of show off their powers, especially Poison Ivy. I do like Scarecrow in this a little bit. He looks kind of freaky, but really in the end, it's more about what the rogues gallery does in the course of all that.
Yeah, and again, I love that. I thought that was pretty cool, and to kind of see them all together on one big screen, right? That doesn't really happen all that often. That was kind of like a Sinister Six-like moment. Maybe you could correct me if I'm wrong, but at least on the screen, we haven't seen that.
Yeah, not a whole hell of a lot. I mean, obviously, what's Uma Thurman's Batman movie? We see quite a few. We see like
Batman Forever.
We see like 3, I think, villains usually in some capacity, 2 or 3, right? You see someone early on, they may pop up again later, but we saw Solomon Grundy, we see Two-Face, we see Calendar Man, Poison Ivy, Mad Hatter, Joker. I'm missing somebody.
Catwoman?
Scarecrow, Catwoman. So like we got Falcone and Maroni are villains in their own right too. So I mean that's 10 right there, and I feel like I'm missing a couple others too. But there's a lot. At the same time, that's the most rewatchable scene, but it's pretty weak for as far as our rewatchable scenes go. I think if we like went back and like ranked all of the ones we've talked about over the the course of the show, it'd probably be towards the bottom. I don't dislike it. It's just like that's not.
It's just how the movie is, and again, it doesn't have to be like that. And typically, I think the rewatchable scenes are usually like a big gotcha moment, which I think could be the reveal at the end, right?
That's
when
fair.
You kind of find out maybe who Catwoman's mother is, and that sort of thing, and the relationship is going on.
There's a lot of interesting stuff that happens, and we're going to break that down even further when we go along. But let's go to what will age the best from this movie first.
Yeah, and again, kind of hopping on the same vein, the detective story of Batman. And I think just again very interesting how we chose to watch this not only with the Halloween month and everything like that, but having the Batman trailer come out at the same time. That detective angle I think is going to be really used on this. And you mentioned the Falcone Maroni kind of storyline subplot that's going on as kind of being sub-villains. I was watching like these breakdowns on YouTube of the Batman trailer, not of the Long Halloween, but of the trailer. They were speculating about the sins of their father, right? When Batman is laying out all those clues, and you have that overhead shot, and it's like that kind of spider web of everything that he has, of like the crime scene of everything. It's like sins of our father, that says Project Renewal is a lie, and there's a bunch of other things. People were pontificating, theorizing, maybe sleuthing that Thomas Wayne, that connection that was going on there between Thomas Wayne, Maroni, and Falcone, that that was actually like more corrupt, and that Thomas Wayne wasn't this like billionaire philanthropist good guy, that he was actually a little bit more corrupt and evil than what was suggested, which we come to find out here, which I loved. I never, not knowing anything about the Long Halloween or anything, I love that kind of flip on its head storyline.
Having that connection to Falcone really is something. It adds a whole nother layer to Batman's backstory. And it's like, when you think about it, I understand where DC as like this large corporation wouldn't necessarily want to lean on it, but I gotta imagine like the people who are writing the stories of Batman over the years, you would like, for all the leaning on like my parents died and I need to go and make this city better because of what happened to my parents and everything, I would think you'd want to lean on the Falcone connection to his father in some capacity too. Like you can have Alfred spin it however you want, but it's always going to kind of look like, yeah, but what Falcone did and all this stuff. And then you kind of like, you still aligned yourself with him. Like, it's people are always, as much as, some people can justify it. Sure. I can see how people would justify it, but I'm also going to understand how everybody's going to look at it a little bit like, I don't know if that's okay. So it's surprising that they haven't leaned on that more over the years, really.
Yeah, and I think the dynamic of being the replacement father figure, like you were like the son I never had sort of thing that Falcone says, right, between Bruce Wayne and Falcone. So I think that's a dynamic too that I think would have been interesting to explore more in the live action.
And that was one of those things that was changed a little bit from the comic that I thought was a good change, and we'll get to that a little bit more. We have a specific section devoted to that where I'm going to run some things by Wes about differences. But for me, what aged the best, I think you're right, Wes. The detective story, like having Batman do detective shit, is going to age very well. I think you should do that more and more with him on the big screen. You can do the what does it all mean stuff, sure, but like don't just like build up his brilliance and everything, and then we'll see that other stuff on a grander scale when you're bringing the Justice League together or having them mess around with just the Flash or whatever. But I think the DC animated universe, we get this end credit scene and everything. I was really apprehensive about this animation and everything, but this is a really good story. I think HBO Max is a great landing spot for all this. I know we already have Harley Quinn, but like this should be separate from it. And even then, people like the Harley Quinn show too. We got more of that as well from the fandom. So I think DC animation in general is just going to continue to get stronger off of this.
I think you hit the nail on the head. I think the HBO Max is a great landing spot for this too, because it's opened it up. It's made it accessible for people like you who actually watch it and have a good platform for it. And then it's also given it a more mainstream platform for me to be able to make it more accessible, and open myself up to it. But, so I think that's I think it's a great spot for it. And again, if you're paying for it, that's not something that I would watch a video on demand off of Xfinity for $10 or whatever it is. But if I'm already paying for the subscription, like I would watch that stuff all day.
Yeah. And this is how you build brand loyalty, because they're like, as much as like, I want to go and read the comics. So there's like there's different stuff that I have desires for. At some point you go and rewatch some of this stuff on HBO Max or whatever else you want to rewatch. If there's other stuff, it's like, once in a while, you might go and give it a shot. You see enough hype on Twitter or the internet, somewhere else, whatever. It's like, maybe I'll give this a shot one day. And then boom, that's how you get people back on DC. Some people, and that's how you also develop the kid fans too, because this is, for them, this stuff's going to be huge where you don't have those shows necessarily quite as much. So like we had the X-Men, the animated, which is why our generation, all we fucking want is the X-Men in the MCU. But anyways, and Spider-Man to have a bigger role, but
we're getting there. We're getting there slowly but surely.
What about Wes? What will age the worst from this?
Off the top of the head, I think the Mad Hatter. I hated him, and again, like not having too much experience with his Batman's entire rogues gallery. That's a phrase that's often overused in this DSG universe. I love it. It's like,
it's perfect.
I feel like Batman is the only time that phrase gets used. What other rogues gallery?
Well,
and outside of the comic book world, does Osama, does the United States have a rogues gallery of terrorists or something?
I don't think it's used outside of the comic book world, but I do think it's used for Flash because I'm pretty sure there are Flash villains called the Rogues. So maybe it's not the Rogues Gallery, but it's similar. And then Spider-Man too, because Spider-Man and Batman. I mean, the X-Men kind of too, but like the Spider-Man, Batman for individual characters have the best Rogues galleries, period. Yeah. And then the X-Men from a team perspective. But anyways, you're right. It is used from Batman very frequently because he has probably the best one.
But it's like such an awful idea of a character, right? He's a leprechaun. He's it's just stolen from a different story, right? Of Alice in Wonderland. And it's just like, again, a horrible depiction of, kind of semi-racist appropriation of culture, depending if you want to go down there with the fighting Irish guy too, right?
No, that's right, Irish. Yep.
But it just didn't really do it for me. I'm not sure what his whole deal is. Like, what's his power? Like,
he's insane. But
crimes, right?
But like some of these guys don't have powers; they're just insane. But that's why you don't see a whole shit ton of Mad Hatter stuff. He did pop up in the Gotham show, and I actually liked him there when I saw him. I haven't finished that show. Kind of meh. But I liked the actor that actor was also in The Walking Dead. But I liked his portrayal. But he's a whack job.
The other one was the Scarecrow. And again, I love the Scarecrow in Batman Begins, but it's the animated depiction. It was too on the nose for the depiction, like a guy dressing up like a Scarecrow. Like I would love, again, something that's a little bit more gritty that I could see like this, the reasoning of why this guy would be a villain, not just like, oh, there's a villain called the Scarecrow who dresses up like a Scarecrow. Like, and like a little, like take it one step further for me to believe it.
There is another character who's kind of weird that's going to come up for us shortly that I'm glad you did not bunch in together with Mad Hatter and Scarecrow. I can understand Mad Hatter. I love Scarecrow. I think obviously we love him in Batman Begins, but in general, he's just such an outstanding villain, the fear toxin and everything. So like that's something that's not necessarily going to bother me as much, but I do understand. Like he does look odd. Anything else?
I love all his powers and stuff, and like all his weaponry. Like I think that's a really cool thing. Good. Yeah. The only other thing I thought that kind of screwed me up a little bit was the character depiction. Like I didn't think there was a lot of variation at times. Like I had a tough time depicting Selena and Gilda, and I feel like the only difference were like Selena's pearls. Like that was it. And they both look almost exactly the same. And the Falcone Maroni crime families again. Maybe I'm racist there. All Italians look the same. I don't know.
Aren't you Italian?
I couldn't really tell.
Aren't you Italian? Yeah, exactly. I will say I didn't have a Selena Gilda problem, but I did have times where like it was with Gilda, and I'm just like, huh? Like who's this? What? Where are we right now? And maybe it was more her and Gordon's wife in the course of all this. But either way, but even in that, I don't think it's just Gilda. I was thrown off by constantly, so I do kind of understand how that was a little bit of an issue.
Yeah. But I got it for the most part. But a couple points, it just seems like, oh, what's going on?
I think in the end, for me, it's somewhere between like this being broken up into two movies, which it does make sense because it's 3 hours long. But at the same time, this is a 3-hour thing. I don't have a problem with that. I think they told a great story and everything, and you needed pretty much every second of this. But I think in time, like that's what'll hurt this versus like an Injustice. Like more people will watch Injustice because that's only like an hour and a half, 20 minutes, something like that. This is 3 hours. This is a commitment.
And this was, if I'm not mistaken, not released at the same time. It was released on HBO Max at the same time, but when it was first released, right over the summer, right? I think it was like July and August. I think there was like a little bit of time between.
There was some, and that definitely helped. But when we talk about like over time, like some people will be more apprehensive probably to say yes, I'm going to go commit to this versus some of the other DC stuff. Because there's a lot of other quality DC movies in this on HBO Max, but. To me, that's like nitpicking. I think your animation, like at times, like I think that's fair, like because I had that same issue with Gilda. So maybe I'll lean more towards that. But we're talking a lot about Mad Hatter and Scarecrow. They're not going to be up for best performance by a side character. But who do you have as a nominee?
I think I'll make a quick honorable mention because I agree with your choice here. But Poison Ivy I thought was nice, nice addition to it. Again, depicted a little scantily clad as not exactly 2021 appropriate. I was a little surprised by that, but her powers I'm always interested by because she has control over plants. She's almost like Swamp Thing, but it isn't.
She is such. Like in the grand scheme of things, I feel like In some ways, I feel like she's underrated, or maybe like there was a period in time where she was underrated, but at the same time, like she is an extremely powerful villain, and that's the HBO. The Harley Quinn show did so well, like where they have this whole thing in was it the second? I think it was the first season. Whatever one it was, where Harley's trying to get into the Legion of Doom, and like they're like we're trying to get her here, but we really want you to join us because you're the most powerful like female villain that there is. Like she is not to be fucked with, and also she's a character. Like, is she really a villain? Because she's just trying to save like Earth most of the time too, like save the green and everything, like Swamp Thing.
Some might say the humans are the parasites.
Yeah, you could make that case. But in the end, Wes, the unquestionable best performance by a side character in this one is Calendar Man. He's also awesome in the comic too. He's just the perfect amount of weird. And then in the course of all this too, it's like he's totally getting trolled because we're dealing with Holiday. He's the Calendar Man. It's like, that's my fucking deal. Like, how are you going to go and take this from me? And then on top of it all, when Harvey Dent goes to break everybody out of prison, he's the one guy who didn't get out because he's the one person who didn't guess heads on the coin flip.
Right. Yeah, that's a tough break for my man here. Kind of has a real Hannibal Lecter type of vibe too, right? We're helping from behind the cell there. Our resident weird guy, small time actor David Dalmatian.
Yes,
comes in as the voice doing it, right? He's everywhere. It seems like all over these movies nowadays. So
yes, sir.
Good for him. But yeah, so I like that. I like the look of him, and again, very calm and like collected. No excitement in his voice or anything. Always is just even keeled.
Yes, and I honestly didn't know that it was that actor in all of this too. And like you said, we've seen him quite a bit in superhero movies, and maybe he's going to come up again in the course of this conversation. But before we get to the winners and losers of this movies, we're going to go through a little bit of test here because Wes and I occasionally come up with creative ideas for movies, whether it's DC or Marvel, try to improve on things or whatever. With this movie, there were some significant changes from the comics. Now, the most important ones came with Holiday. So I want to run through that. But I will mention that Catwoman, they kind of expedited some of her story a little bit. She in the comics, she didn't know, at least they don't show that she knows who Bruce Wayne and Batman are. Same thing goes for him. And then the Falcone stuff does not get answered. She's absolutely following Falcone throughout all this, but that does not get answered for her in this story. And then the stuff with Sophia, the nature of her death, it happens all in that sequence. But in the movie, we see her kind of just like let go to kind of give Catwoman this like chance to survive. And then in the book, though, in the comics, she like they're tussling, and then she like it's like Aragorn in Two Towers, like she took a little tumble off the cliff, like that's how it happened. So, anyways, more important stuff, Wes, is when it comes to Holiday. So, so in the comics, we don't see Batman figure out who Holiday really was. Do you like that change here, or do you not?
I want to get it wrapped up here because, again, I guess the assumption would be if it happened at the comic books, or you would get some sort of wrap-up edition, maybe, right? Did you ever get some sort of closure to that in a different...
You do. You get the person who's Holiday in the comic. Now, if you haven't read the comic and you plan on reading it, just fast forward a little bit through this section. I will just warn you there because there are differences. You do find out that it was Gilda in this, but at the same time, it's just her talking to, like, doing her internal monologue. That's all. So Batman never tells us and all that. Like he as far as we know, he has no clue when you go and read the comic.
Right. He's not down there in the basement and everything.
Right.
Yeah.
She's in the basement and she does do the whole furnace scene and everything. Now, also, we find out in the comic as she's going through her internal monologue that Harvey took over with the killings with the start of Alberto Falcone's death. He was the one that killed Alberto Falcone in the comic. And the ones prior were all her. And Gilda reveals that to us. She figured it out herself when she like stumbles upon Harvey's stuff. So
and the guilt of that is what kind of makes that split in the personality of Harvey Dent, right?
Yeah,
that's what kind of pushes that Two-Face mentality, right?
Yes. So do you like the idea of Harvey being like one of the two Holidays, or do you prefer and they also give us this okie doke where Alberto doesn't die, like he actually came back and he says he's Holiday, so that's like that's a double okie doke in all of this. But do you like the idea of Harvey not being Holiday at all, like in the movie, or do you think it would have made more sense for him to also be Holiday?
Yeah, I kind of like the route that they took with this. Again, kind of attributing to that split personality, inward and outward, right into the Two-Face. They're becoming two different people. So I think that's kind of an interesting type of way to take on it. Otherwise, of course, that doesn't really happen, right? In his typical storyline of becoming Two-Face there, right? He's just corrupted by evil, eventually. But actually having a split personality and two different voices in your head, I think that's kind of an interesting choice that works for an animated. I'm not sure if that would have worked, in live action on screen sort of thing.
No. I think some of this stuff would have been harder for live action, and the narration that you're talking about that happens in the actual animated movie would be difficult in live action. I agree with you 100%.
Because that's kind of what like Willem Dafoe does in like Spider-Man 1 or Spider-Man 2, right? He kind of has that like inner monologue going on, and it's like a little campy.
Yeah. Now, I will say normally there's another big difference, and it's the last one that we're going to touch on in a second. I would have said I like the comic book version more because it explains better Harvey's kind of descent into madness. Of course, you have the whole the face stuff that happens to him and everything, and like you said, like he starts developing this personality. But I think it feeds into it just as much. However, there's a big difference in the animated versus the comic, where with the comic, this whole pre-existing relationship with Gilda and Alberto Falcone that we find out about in the movie, that is not a thing in the comic. She just killed. She goes like postal because she wants to have more time with Harvey. All this stuff was taking over his life. She wanted to have a kid. She's able to have a kid in the comic. That's not a thing, obviously, in the movie. That's a point of contention for them.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a whole thing. And so
the baby thing is not involved at all in the comics.
It's actually like the inverse, really, is what it is in the end. So
she wants the baby.
She wants the baby. So for me, in the end, as much as I think that what I just mentioned before about Harvey taking part in the killings is good, it makes more sense to me. I think for this specific story, what they did here is better because now you have this whole pre-existing relationship with Alberto Falcone that like motivates her. So I'm curious. I'm assuming you like this. That version
I mean, not knowing the background, I think this made perfect sense. And again, you kind of to follow that whodunit type of structure where you have that one moment where it all kind of ties in and everything kind of you get the look back and it's like, oh, it all makes sense. The Oxford pin was right. Pennant was right up above the
so good. I love that.
I should have picked up on that, but I was. It took me a minute because I was kind of thrown off, and I watched these movies in 2-3 days apart. From one another, so like kind of picking up on some things, like I wasn't all there, so I was a little slower on it, but I enjoyed it. And maybe it was because I was slower on it that I enjoyed the reveal. Like maybe if I was like a little more sharper on the draw, quicker on the draw there, like I would have been ahead of the curve and be like, see, this is coming, this is lame.
Yeah,
it worked out really well. I liked it.
I thought the changes that they made with this, by and large, were awesome. Like the only thing that I would look at the changes here and say, like they changed Harvey's origin just a little bit, but I'm not going to take huge points off of that. But the way that Sophia dies, like that was of all the changes, that was the one to me. I was like, "The fuck is this shit?" Like that was stupid. Like that's just kind of. It didn't need to be that way. I know you tried to develop the character more and everything, but that was just dumb. But by and large, I think at the end of it all, the biggest thing, like we're talking about, like voting on these things, the biggest thing is like adding that relationship with Alberto Falcone.
Right.
I actually really liked it. I thought it was a good move.
Yeah, and I think it probably gave people like yourself who would well versed in the comic, read it a couple times over, something new, right? Something new to expect and kind of keep you on your toes there. You've mentioned Sophia a couple of times. I think now might be a good point to move on to who lost the movie. She was my only choice for. Again, she kind of loses out on the Falcone name, and inheritance and everything like that, but. I was very jarred by her this whole movie. Like, why is she so big? Like, she's like the biggest person in the room.
She is, yeah. Like,
is that like supposed to be? Is there something like about that? Does that ever get like mentioned or anything?
No, I don't think you see. I don't remember seeing Sophia Falcone anywhere else outside of the story.
So, she was bigger than like
her father.
Carmine.
Yeah, absolutely. She's an absolute beast. Like
but not like fat because. Carmine's wife, who was shot in the elevator,
the sister.
Sorry,
yeah.
She was like fat and kind of frumpy.
Yeah,
but
Sophia's a beast.
Sophia was like, like a brick wall.
Yeah,
It was just jarring. Like I was like, what was the thought behind this?
I don't know. Like that's just, I think it's just interpreted from the comic for what it was, and that's really it. But I do think that when you talk about who lost the movie, like that's when you talk about who loses the story, like in general, it's just like she just gets screwed. And I think that's
out, she's not an only child, right? She's got the thing going on too.
Well, the thing that's so weird about like when you talk about points that got taken off to, the way, like knowing that they might change things a little bit, they still got to respect, the Harvey Dent aspect, all this, and his development Two-Face, because that's whose origin story this really is. The way they did Holiday, like visually, it kind of looked like, are they going to make Sophia Falcone Holiday in this? Because that character looks so big sometimes, as opposed to his wife, where it's Harvey Dent's wife, where it's like, that doesn't really look like Gilda.
Was she big in the comics too? Was Sophia big in the comics?
Sophia looks pretty much the same. Looks pretty much the same. So I don't think that, like, it was just weird what they did with Holiday in that regard. That's something where I took points off on.
But Holiday wasn't big in the comics, though.
No, Holiday was more like not as big. Look, like it was like normal, like where it makes a lot more sense. But they did a better job of like keeping that quicker. Like we see Holiday more in the movie. But anyways, for my losers, I think Sophia is a good candidate. I put Joker as a loser. Look, that is very accurate to the comics, what they did with him. But at the same time, you have him on so loud, and then when he comes back, it's just like, I don't know. It felt really weird. Like, this is the Joker who's loud and obnoxious. He's still loud and obnoxious in the comic when you see him later on, but it's just like he carries like. He just like you have him fade into the background, and it's like, that's not the Joker. How do you justify that?
He's not a beta. He doesn't. I don't think he takes a backseat to anybody. And when he does take a backseat, it's been when he's locked up, right? Kind of doing that Hannibal Lecter type of thing, where he's like helping Batman, quick pro quo sort of thing. But when he's on the loose, he's running by his own set of rules. There, I don't think he's doing anyone else's bidding.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely. He's
maybe he does in the comic, but again, that's he's kind of see.
No. You're right. He's out. He's pissed because of what's going on with Hush. Like that's it. I mean, not Hush. Sorry, Holiday. Like that. That's all he cares about. Like I want my shit. Like, and this guy's coming over and encroaching on my fucking territory. Get out of my face. So it's the same thing. Like they did a good job with the portrayal. It's just that later on, it just seemed out of place. It didn't feel quite as right. So that was a little odd for me. But then anytime we see a DC animated movie, Wes, it's like live action. Like, hey, DC live action department, fucking take notes. This is how it's done. Like, they tell a good story like 9 times out of 10 with this shit. And it's like, you have, like, I understand they can do some things you can't, but it's not like you should be able to do some of this shit they're doing.
And when you're talking about properties like Batman, Superman, even to a degree, The Flash, I think those are, Wonder Woman, certainly.
Yeah.
I think this, the Batman Matt Reeves trailer shows that, you just have to get it. Like, you just give us what we want. Just give us fan fiction. Like, it's out there what you want us to do. Give us the Bat family. Expand on the Rogues gallery there. These are, characters that have such a beloved thing. You don't have to, like, get the buy-in from the Eternals and then, give all this trailer and backstory and huge first look spotlight to get to know, who these 12 new characters are. Like, no, do these right. And then you don't have to like worry about competing with Marvel.
I understand letting the storytellers tell the story and like growing and developing in certain ways. Absolutely go and do that. But at the end of it all, Wes, like, you bring up
what they want.
You bring up that as fan fiction for a lot of the people now that are in charge of this stuff. You were fans of these characters at one point. It's like you're getting paid to do it, yes, but it's still kind of fan fiction. So like, it's just like, that's where it's like sometimes, like you said, they try and get too cute. Just like just pay attention to what they're doing here because they're doing it right, and it seems like they got it with the Batman. But so my vote would go to the live action department, but Sophia Falcone is definitely justified.
Without the work too, I think the live action department is a bigger message.
Yeah,
so it's small L.
Absolutely, much more grounded. So I think it's more fitting for the movie. And then
prettier, maybe.
Ooh, good call. For who won the movie, Wes, I have two candidates here. I have Jensen Ackles, who has now voiced Batman and Red Hood. Of course, he did Under the Red Hood. But really, I think I gotta give it to David Dastmalchian. He did a better Calendar Man than the one we saw in the Suicide Squad. And he's of course,
we didn't really get a whole lot of them, right? Although that one line's pretty epic.
It's beside the point. But either way, he's also Polka Dot Man now. We saw him in The Dark Knight as an escaped Arkham victim, and he's an Ant-Man now. Like David Dastmalchian is becoming one of the kings of like comic book movies.
Is he the linchpin to the comic book universe, the comic book multiverse?
Yeah. I mean, if we ever see a Marvel DC crossover, because it has happened in the comics, it won't happen in theaters. But if it did, they got to do it before he like ages out of his roles, because like,
so he could be in there. He would be like the Watcher. He would be the Nexus being.
Yes,
exist in all multiverses. I have no problem with Jensen Ackles. I thought it was a good job, right?
Good job.
And I love having Josh Duhamel on there. A little bit of heat behind that voice of Harvey Dent. But I think it's the mafia. It's the mob. Mobs still run stuff, and they they do things right, even if they do things wrong.
Yeah. Yes. Mob always wins. Yes, and apparently I'm a coward because Ed is back from the dead. Anyways, Wes, I will go with you and the mob on this one. Let's see. Oh, we got to turn to the Discharge Depot now.
Yes, all aboard. Rant, rant.
All right. Why don't you get us started this time around?
So I did found out about a little thing that I like to call, I did not know this. Apparently people who are in the construction business might know this, a stink pipe. Nick, a stink pipe. Are you familiar with that?
This isn't a callback to your sex toys earlier?
No. Actually, it could be though. That's a good callback. We gutted our kitchen this weekend. So we took all the cabinetry out and everything like that. But there was some piping in there that we had to cut down on and switch off as we were turning the water off and all that stuff. We had to shave down a piping that is connected to our bathroom. It's called the stink pipe. It's where it goes out to the septic tank. And it was very gross. Just sewage out there. There's raw sewage just cutting off with a pipe there.
I think we're missing out on a major major business opportunity, Wes, with the stink pipe. Turning into something else.
It's a great name, right? I mean, it lends itself somehow. I think. Are you talking about dildos?
I might be for certain people, like made for certain.
It's not beating around the bush here, or maybe we would beat around the bush with the stink pipe. I'm not sure.
I think this is a conversation we need to continue off screen, so that way nobody steals our shit.
That's right. IP. Don't steal that IP, baby. That's
pun not intended with the shit. But anyways.
Wow.
So
Nick, on the roll.
I am going to see Blake Shelton in concert. Oh wow! Way to land that plane. Good job.
Toilet paper roll. Damn it.
It's okay. I got it. Now I'm going to see Blake Shelton in concert on Friday with Lauren.
Oh, very nice. Where is that going to be?
That's going to be at Mohegan Sun. So Mohegan Sun round 2 for me this month.
Yeah,
so
can't get enough. Can't keep the kid away.
Apparently,
you gonna be placing some sports bets there.
I might get in trouble if I do that. But either way,
wow, yeah. Well, on the low, we'll go off air to continue that stink pipe conversation.
Exactly. But more importantly, Wes, there was a Tubi special that came out. I know Keith always talks about Tubi and horror stuff, right? That's all on Tubi. I think they have the greatest horror library of any streaming
corner of the market on it. Yeah.
Yes. Now some of that stuff isn't necessarily the best, but they have a documentary featuring our former resident guy in the chair, Tim Weisberg, famously haunted Amityville, Wes. And this is an hour and 23 minutes, I believe, but there's some commercials mixed in as well. It's free to watch, because it's got the commercials and everything. Tim he's the first, not guest, but whatever you call the people that you like. Yeah. So because there's a narrator too. He's the first non-narrator to talk on the show, and he also has the absolute last words on the show.
Well, he was very well connected to the Amityville. He was in the running for a while, right, to buy the house. He might do that for a while.
Yes, of course. But
well, you mentioned famously haunted Amityville. I was looking on Prime Video not too long ago, and the Bridgewater Triangle documentary was on there.
I gotta watch
Tim Weisberg also featured on that, as well as our guy Christopher Balzano.
Tim was in that one too.
Yes.
I gotta watch that one. So that's on
Prime.
Prime.
It's great because you look at the cast and crew, and like he has his own IMDb page and photo, so it shows up on the cast and crew.
Okay.
Like it's not a question mark, it's not a gray tile. It's like his actual photo.
Nice. I think I did.
You get the bio, Spooky South Coast, and all that stuff.
Yeah, he gets a lot of plugs for that podcast. And I gotta watch that one now. So that's on Prime. I'm definitely gonna go watch that one. I'll tell you what, Family Haunted Amityville, quality. Absolutely,
Okay.
they did a really good job with it. Really good job of breaking it down. If you have, like, Lauren watched it with me, and she knew nothing about the Amityville horror and everything, and what's happened there over the years. Obviously in the past. But so it was good. If you don't know that stuff, you can still watch it. And for those who have watched it, it's like very detailed, and it definitely adds to some stuff that maybe you saw in the movies, but now it's more fact based. So as much as I don't want to say anything more. I highly recommend it if you're into any of the spookiness.
Okay, well, you mentioned where you're going to a concert on Friday. On Wednesday, I'm going to the ALCS. Of course, the Red Sox, who won a game, split the home series, the road series with the Astros. So I'm going on Wednesday.
Oh, look at that!
See the clinching game if they do things right tonight. I don't know.
That would be awesome, Wes. That's right. I forgot with that win in Game 2. That's huge for you. Oh shit!
Very, very excited. So I'll actually get to rock my Red Sox practice tee that I've been wearing for a while here. So 90s Mike Greenwell style batting practice shirt. So
there you go.
That's excited.
That's going to be awesome. So is Jules going with you?
Oh yeah, the two of us.
Nice.
Oh, yeah.
Nice.
Stuff.
Awesome. That'll be fun. All right. Well, while you're driving up to Fenway this week for Game 5, what you can do is listen to This Week in Dork
Shared Universe.
And I believe if you listen to Dork, you're going to get Halloween Kills. I know. If not seeing good things from Mac and Goo on that one, they don't seem too pleased with it.
From nobody, everyone. I mean, I've seen it on Twitter from people I don't even follow for like entertainment news. Like they're like, I watched Halloween Kills and this movie sucks. I'm like,
it absolutely is Halloween Kills. Now I had to think about it for a second, but it absolutely is. And then Mac and Goo did a Batman villains who have yet to appear on the big screen draft featuring Keith, Shime, no Mac, but one of the two of us may have made a brief appearance on there as well.
You broke the glass. You entered the ring there from the rafters.
May have found out about that last minute, but I think we made it work in the end. And then as for the People for Communism podcast, Wes, what are they doing this week?
Yes, they're doing the Long Bread Line Part 1, an entrance survey. So very interesting stuff from them.
Hey, we're getting exit surveys and entrance surveys. It's like we're two peas in a pod. They are communists. We're capitalists.
Yeah, they got to. Someone's got to enter the bread line. You know
what the fuck? What are they doing? Why are they still part of all this shit? Anyways, for TLDR, as I mentioned before, we're gonna have Rodney Barnes. We're gonna talk to Rodney Barnes about Nita Hawes' Nightmare blog, his newest Philadelphia Universe book over at Image Comics. Very fun conversation. So make sure you guys listen for that. And do we have a name for the Hawkeye podcast?
Yes. So we have Hawkeyes on Hawkeye. So a little Hawkeye on Hawkeye action. So tentatively November 17th, the week before the first episode would come out. Maybe do a little refresher. But of course, we're going to get the first 2 episodes of Hawkeye on that November 24th date release. So kind of like WandaVision.
Okay, so obviously, WandaVision started this whole thing. We didn't see it coming. Your podcast was like born in the middle of that show, right? And that was a lot of fun. And obviously with Loki, there was a lot of important shit that we were expecting. So it was fun for you guys with that show and everything. But I gotta say, I think I'm most excited for Hot Guys on Hawkeyes because it seems like this is gonna have just the right amount of cheese. And you both like to have a little bit of cheese and stuff, especially when holiday stuff is thrown in the mix. So I don't expect this to be your absolute favorite show of the MCU ones, but I feel like you guys are going to have quite a bit of fun with this one.
Well, I think there's going to be a lot of hot guys, maybe a little hot cheese action. Maybe we'll be mixing the two. Maybe we'll have some shirtless hot guys rubbing cheese on one another, some cheese
or ripping cheese, apparently.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, could do that.
Who's cutting the cheese? Is that what you're trying to say?
Oh, yeah, that's what it is. Cutting cheese. Fuck me, dude. All right. Anyways, I've heard it both ways. Season 3, episode 9 of Psych, apparently. Doc, make sure you go follow him on Twitch at Batcracker. You can find Shime on Twitch at ShimeTime. And Davey is now only on YouTube on the Dork page whenever he decides he's going to play video games and stream them. As for us next week, Wes, we are doing Dune, right?
Yeah, Dune exit server. That's going to be very interesting. And I'm looking at the schedule here. So we have kind of an open date the week after that, right? So we have a little bit of an open date there. And then November 9th will be the Eternals exit survey. That's going to be tough. I'm going away on a bachelor party that Friday through Saturday. Maybe I will be taking the Monday off, though, from work. So
okay. Then you'll
maybe I can go see that in the morning, and then we can do the that day of sort of.
Yeah, you'll be fine. You'll be fine. And if you can't figure it out, then we will adjust accordingly. But I think we'll end up we'll make it work. Mondays, of course, you got the whole day, but we'll figure out what we do for next week. We have options, but you and I will figure that out after the show.
Yeah, no. So we're doing Dune exit survey, but
2 weeks.
The week after that is an open day. Yeah.
God damn it! You can tell us the end of the show. The wheels are starting to fuck.
Off the rails. Well, whatever you got in that cup there is kicking in. That's
this is stuff. My brother got this for me for my birthday. It's a monkey shoulder.
So, nice. I like the glass too. It's just kind of sitting on the corner, right?
So this is I love to have this one, especially when Lauren's around, because this is something where you put it down and it's like supposedly you can't spill it. Yeah. So it'll spin around and you can spin it as fast as you want. Shit's not pouring out, but it always looks like it's real. Like it looks like
gives her anxiety. Close. Yeah,
exactly. So just to mess with her a little bit, but
nice.
Anyways,
I love that. That's the relationship. Now you just got to add some farts into the mix here,
and there you go. All right, so until next week then.
Yeah, same bat time, same bat place, baby. Hey, yo, guys.